Here it is, guys. The LS1 is sitting proudly on display in Grouse Garage. It is built, finished, and ready to go back into ex-POPO. Before we get there though, let's rewind and check out the build of this LS1.
Previously on Grouse Garage.
Last time on Grouse Garage, you saw me wrestling with that LS1 and 4L60E to get it out of ex-POPO's engine bay. Now I'm continuing the teardown of this LS1, about to remove the old camshaft and inspect that one for the first time. Let's see what happens right here, right now. Woo! Camshaft's out, baby. Looks like a 200,000 kilometer camshaft. A little bit of wear. Not too bad though. I'll have to have a little inspection of those cam bearings. That front one in particular looks pretty roasted. Straight into the bin. Oh yeah, so this bearing cap here, if I can see that on camera, that bearing is not looking that great. So it's interesting that you get the idea to put a big cam in your motor, and then you decide to do cam bearings, and then you decide if you're going to do cam bearings, you'll do all bearings and rings and everything else, and the further you dig into your motor, the worse it starts to look. So now I've got to lift. This crank out. I'm just going to prepare the degreaser tray. So I'm going to take this crank out and sit it immediately in a tray of degreaser to give it a good clean, because like everything in this engine, it's pretty grubby. Alright, it's time to lift this out. Man, that's a lot heavier than what I expected it would be. With the block cleaned up nicely now in the degreaser, it's time to give the bores a hone. I was actually really impressed with the condition of the bores, considering how many Ks were on this car, and considering it was also an ex-police car, but I gave it a hone anyway and it came out mint. Let's check it out. ball hone is now complete, so it's time for new cam bearings. Rather than show you how to put in all 5 bearings, I'm just showing you a highlight here of installing new cam bearings. A couple of them were a little bit tricky, but overall not too difficult and absolutely essential if you're putting a new cam in. Speaking of which, here goes my Crow Cams choppy grind. I'll show you the specs of that cam now. And this was highly recommended by multiple LS1 builders. I honestly am not a cam guy, took everyone's advice, and in it goes now. Making some great progress now with this engine rebuild. Things are coming together really quickly now. I'm a little bit surprised myself actually at how well this is going. So the camshaft is in, you saw that. I've got new cam bearings in there and the fit is really good. It's not binding up in any way at all, which is great. The crankshaft is now sitting here. Now I'm just about to use some plastic gauge to check the clearances on those bearings. But it's sitting there looking really nice. I'm hoping that there's no issues there at all. If so, bearing caps go on. Then I've got to put the rings on the pistons and get the pistons in, and this rebuild is well and truly underway. Okay, so the crank is now in and the bearing caps are torqued to spec. So now I've got the pistons, they're all cleaned up. I bought myself a ring groove cleaner and scraped out all the carbon from the ring grooves, put new rings on the pistons. Now I'm putting new bearings in, new rod bearings obviously, and the pistons went into the block. So now I'm torquing up the rods to spec and I've got myself some brand new ARP rod bolts. Alright, what am I looking at here? Front of the motor, front of the crankshaft, front of the camshaft. Something missing there. What do I need? Maybe it's what I've got in this box right here. It says Crow Cams on the top, so that's a good sign for starters. Let's open it up and have a look. Oh, it's a double row timing chain. Very nice. Now I bought this a while back when I started collecting parts for this engine. Before I'd really started doing some intense research. So I bought this thinking that's the way to go. Then I've since done a lot of reading and found that there are clearance issues once you fit a double row timing chain. Clearance issues with the oil pump, but there are some spaces that come here with the kit, which I'll find out more about in a moment. But I think when the cover goes back on here as well, there are clearance issues with the oil pump because the oil pump is brought forward. And I do believe you have to grind a little bit of clearance on that cover. So that'll be a little bit of a challenge, but what isn't a challenge really? This whole build for me is pretty much a first, so it's been a challenge all the way. So I don't think this is going to be detrimental So let's open this up, have a look, and start installing on the engine. Alright, so the timing gear is on, and that was a little bit tricky, but it all looks pretty good. It's all buttoned up tight now. So the next thing is this oil pump. Now, what the fuck am I supposed to do with these bits here? Like, I ordered an oil pump and I've got all these extra springs and stuff, so I've got to have a little bit of a read to figure out what's going on with this. It's a Melling high volume oil pump. Now, I actually ordered a stock, pretty sure I ordered a stock GM oil pump, or I might have ordered a stock GM high volume oil pump, and the seller said they didn't have any stock of those, so they're going to give me the Melling one, which is, according to them, better, and they didn't charge me any extra for it. Now, yeah, like I said, I didn't actually order this. I didn't actually want this, but I've heard pretty good things. Drop a comment below if this pump is a good thing or a bad thing. Anyway, I've got to figure out all this stuff here. I believe the different springs are related to the volume of oil that it pumps. So let me have a little read of this, figure out what I've got to do, and then that's going on the engine. Okay, I've got the oil pump trial fitted here. There's a spacer that goes behind the oil pump on either side. The spacers come with the timing chain set, so the oil pump is further away from the block, and it clears the chain behind there. There's a very tight tolerance there between the chain and the pump. But anyway, those spacers bring it forward enough. And this is where I've seen videos of guys talking about fitting these and finding that they need to be clearanced, or this cover in particular needs to be clearanced. So what I've done is I've gone and sat the cover on here, and I've had a look down the sides here to see if it's clearing, or if it's mating up with that face there. So certainly at the top here, it's nice and flush with the block. And then if I look side on at the bottom, it's not flush. It's probably a couple of mil there that if I rock it, you'll be able to, you can kind of see there that it's not flush, a couple of mil, I reckon. So what I've done is I've given it a real good sort of wriggle here, pressing onto the oil pump so that it's rubbing against the pump, and then on the inside of this cover I can see where I need to clearance it. So if I give it a bit of a wriggle there so that it's scraping against the pump, I take this off and have a look, and I can see some, because I cleaned this up nicely before, I can see along here that it was touching. I can also, so just there, I can also see there it was touching. So that is where I need to clearance this cover, just in these spots here where it's quite evident it was rubbing. So that's what I'm going to do now, get the grinder out and just gently take some clearance, some of the cover, so that when I put it on, it's nice and flush. But also remember, the gasket, you know, will take up a little bit of that, and to be honest, I don't think that needs to be clearanced very much at all. So all this scary talk online about, oh, don't use a double row chain because you're going to have to, you know, do some custom work there to clearance it. I think that's just all absolute BS. So let's get into that and see what we can do. And here's a photo now of the final product after I had finished grinding the cover. You can see on the left there was a fair bit of material to remove, and on the right there was also a little bit of material to remove. I started out using an angle grinder with a grinding wheel, and then I finished it off with a die grinder for that fine finish. Test fitted it a few times, went back and forth to grind material off until it was clearanced. And with the gasket on there, it was actually a really nice fit. So let's get this on the engine now and keep the project rolling. So I've got two different types of head gaskets for this. I've got these multi-layer gaskets, and I've got these ones that came in the gasket kit, which I'm told are shit and should go straight in the bin. So I'm going to use these ones. These ones are actually really heavy, and you can see the multi-layer there. Really interesting to look at, actually. Yeah, certainly got plenty of weight in them. So the heads are going to go on. The valley cover I can't do because I stuffed up one of those seals. Pretty ironic, actually, because I watched a few videos and guys were talking about these being a prick to put on and having to buy spares, and I thought that's not going to happen to me, and sure enough I split one of those while putting that valley cover on. I can't believe it, so I've got to go and buy another couple of seals now. So I figured I would get the heads on to keep this build moving along, and these are marked nicely, showing where the front is. So I'm just going to sit them on here and have a look, see what they look like, and then I'm going to drop the heads on. Look at that. That is beautiful. That is art. That is just so satisfying, sitting that on there. So what I'm going to do is I've got brand new head bolts. I'm going to loosely fit those. The other head on as well, loosely fit those head bolts. And if I'm motivated enough tonight, I am going to torque those down. Yes, I think I should be doing that. modified rockers are now installed nicely and torque to spec. Did also check the preload on the lifters, and that is all good. So once the rocker covers were tightened up nicely, I continued to install all the coil packs and associated hardware. Then it was time to move on to the front of the engine. Here I am now, just putting a little light bead of silicon around where the gasket goes for the water pump. Some people say do it, some people say don't. I just wanted that tiny little extra bit of sealing power there, so I put some silicon on with the gasket. This is it, guys, the last thing to put on this engine, and that is a brand new Powerbond harmonic balancer. I've got a new GM balancer bolt, genuine GM part there to put on, and here is the harmonic balancer. So, as I said, this is the very last thing to go onto this engine until it is done. So let's get it on and get it finished. And here it is, guys, the final finished product. The LS1 motor is built. Taken me about 2 months of work, not full time obviously, a little bit of time in the afternoons, a little bit of time on weekends to get this motor built. What have we got in there? We've got a very big cam. The specs of that I will show you on the screen. Now that cam was recommended by many LS1 builders. Nice choppy idle. We will see that when it gets up and running. Got LS7 lifters, crow cams, push rods, crow cams, double row timing chain, upgraded rockers, high volume oil pump, bores are honed, new rings, new bearings. Man, everything has gone into this build, and I cannot wait to get it into ex-POPO and get it running. But that is a wrap for this video. Guys, I really appreciate you watching, liking, subscribing, and sharing. I don't get a huge amount of views on my videos, but I do it for the love of it, and I do it so that you guys have got some local Aussie content to watch. So thanks again for watching. Next video in this series is my 4L60E rebuild. So stay tuned for that.